Hey folks, it's May 8th today, and it's been a while again. Got an awful haircut today. That was fun. So I want to talk a little bit about dependence on testosterone because I recently realized how scary it can be. I have a good friend who is also trans, and he was fantastic when I was first coming out, and he showed me how to inject, and I don't even know if I'd be able to do it by myself if it weren't for him, so that was really, really lucky. And we had a lot of discussions in the past about hysterectomies and whether either of us were planning on having one. And I was kind of always of the opinion that I was never going to do it unless it was medically necessary, unless I had some type of problem, complication from the hormones, whatever, and I needed to have a hysterectomy because I didn't really have any dysphoria based on that part of my anatomy, and I didn't want to have another surgery just for the hell of it. And he was kind of the same opinion that he wasn't going to get it unless it was medically necessary, but his reasoning was that he was afraid that if for whatever reason at some point in the future testosterone was not available and he had a hysterectomy, then he'd be screwed because if your body's not producing any hormones, you have to get them from somewhere. And he was always very much afraid of that. And I understood his fear, but it never really kind of clicked for me. And I didn't really think too much of it because, like I said, I wasn't planning on getting a hysterectomy anyways. So last week I called my pharmacy because I didn't have very much testosterone left and I needed to refill my prescription. And I put in my order, whatever, everything was good. And about an hour later, the pharmacist called me back to tell me that Testosterone was on back order. Testosterone is the brand of testosterone that I use. So my first instinct, or my first, I guess, I freaked out. I didn't know what to do. I kind of just hung up on them saying like, okay, I'll figure it out type of thing, and I didn't really know what to do about it. Once I calmed down, I called them back and I asked if they could call the other pharmacies or see if there was any Testosterone available in the city that they had access to. And I was speaking to this guy that was very, very nice and ended up being incredibly helpful. And at one point I just got mad because about 2 months before, actually it was right after surgery when I went in for my refill, I went in just for syringes, and the pharmacist misunderstood me and gave me got a bottle of testosterone prepared. And so I said, no, I just need syringes. And I'm kicking myself in the ass right now for not taking that bottle. But I told the pharmacist that I was speaking to that story and said maybe that bottle's floating around. And he's like, no, well, if we didn't give it to you, then we have other customers that use that, so we would have given it to them. And so I said, look, I really don't want to be rude, and I'm sorry if this comes off that way, but if you're running out of a drug that people need to take on a weekly basis, shouldn't you be calling them and telling them that it's not going to be available anymore? So I heard him in the background ask the other pharmacists if they had called anybody, and they were just like, no, why would we do that type of thing? And it just seemed so ridiculous to me because it's not medically life-threatening to not be on testosterone and to have to switch brands and to have, take a little break. It's not going to kill you. Physically, it's not going to kill you, even if it hurts emotionally. But they still don't realize how important it is. And it's they didn't even occur to them. It's we're taking it for vanity. It didn't even occur to them to call people. So he said he was going to call around and see if there was any left, and that he would call the company and see when it was going to be available. So I called a few other pharmacies by myself because I happened to have another prescription, so I could go to another pharmacy, and nobody had it. Everybody was it's been on back order for so and so long. Everybody gave me a different answer. Some people say it would be available mid-May. Some people said end of June. No one had a clear answer. The pharmacist called me back. He said that there was none in the city, that they already had 2 doctors on a list waiting to get more, and the company apparently said May. And I just, like, his recommendation to me was to switch to depot testosterone instead. So then I had a whole other freak out, because the reason that I chose deletestrol for two reasons. The first reason is that it's more concentrated than some of the other brands, meaning that you have to take less of it to get the same dose. And being afraid of needles, I knew that the shorter that whole thing was, the better it would be for me. So that was reason number one. But I guess that was reason number two. The main reason that I chose deletestrol was because it is suspended in sesame oil, which I'm not allergic to. I know other brands are suspended in peanut oil, which would kill me, and depot testosterone is suspended in cottonseed oil, which I don't even know what that is, and it made me nervous, so I figure I'll stick to one that I know. So when he suggested that I switch to depot, I told him I might not be able to do that. I have an allergy. This is the reason that I chose deletestrol. I'm not sure, like, the side effects of, I know a lot of people react to depot testosterone, and I actually have allergies to something that might be in it. So but there's really nothing he could do. He was actually very, very nice. And he ended up faxing a prescription requisition, I guess that's what it's called, to my endocrinologist to get a prescription for depot, which I actually didn't think my doctor would do without me going in, but he did. And so I got a bottle of depot testosterone. And I was pretty much freaking out about it for a full week before I had to do my shot, because I genuinely had no clue what would happen. I tried to do some research on cottonseed oil, and it didn't seem like I would have been allergic to it, but it wasn't so much the fact that I'm allergic to nuts that made me nervous about the cottonseed oil, because I knew they weren't related. It was just the fact that I have so many allergies that there was a huge possibility that this would be another thing I was allergic to. So I was very nervous about it. And then last week I was at Ting's house one night, and he's on depot, and it just suddenly occurred to me to take some of his and at least, like, rub it on my skin and see if I got a rash or something, and maybe that would reassure me, whatever. So he had, like, dregs at the end of a bottle, and he gave me that, and I was fine. Nothing happened, no rash. And then I just did my shot at his house this morning because I was nervous to do it and then be alone, and I was fine. I mean, there's no rash, just making sure. There's nothing weird around the injection site. I feel fine. I'm fairly certain that it's okay, and that I would have had a reaction by now if I was going to, so it was okay. But it was just terrifying, because what would I have done if I did have a reaction to it and couldn't take any other brand of testosterone? And it just seemed completely ridiculous to me that there was, like, no deletestrol in Montreal. And, like, I looked at my bottles, because I don't know why I keep my bottles, but they all expired in June of this year. And I think that maybe, like, all the testosterone that was produced by that company expires in June, and they just haven't made new testosterone yet. And that seems so crazy to me. Like, yes, all of the bottles expire in June, so theoretically we wouldn't need more testosterone until that date. But just because it expires then doesn't mean that all of your customers have enough to last until then. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that that is possible. It feels like they should put a warning out or something, that they should, like, they had to have known that they were going to run out at some point before it actually happened. They couldn't have just, like, looked in a cupboard and been like, oh, there's absolutely none of our product left. I guess we should make some more. Like, it just seems crazy to me. So I have depot now, and I at least know that it's safe for me, which is reassuring. But I have an appointment with my endocrinologist in June, in the middle of June, and I'm going to ask him to write me several prescriptions so that if this ever happens again, I could either go into Ontario and try to get some, or even go to Vermont and try to get some. And I'm also going to ask him to give me a specific script that says that I can get more than one bottle at a time. I'll tell him that I'm traveling or something and, like, need to stock up, because I don't want this to happen again. And I told my friend that I spoke about in the beginning of the video that this was happening. He's actually in BC now, so he doesn't have to deal with it. and he said that like he's not surprised at all, and that him and another one of his friends have started already stocking up on bottles, and I'm hopefully going to be able to do the same, because this really scared the crap out of me. So yeah, I think this video is quite long enough, and I hope you guys are all doing well. I'll probably make an update video in a few weeks from now. Yeah, talk to you soon.